On today's episode of The Unwritten Rule, we got a good show. Talked for like 50 minutes. Payton, Kenny, and I. First of all three of us are back for a show. I know I've been gone for the last two, so we did great convo. Talked Mizzou football at SEC Media Days, and kind of dove into everything there. Talked about what Kristian Williams and Luther Bird and Brady Cook, all of them said. Went over a ton of stuff: offensive line, defensive line, running backs. Talked some Marquis Johnson discourse. Some good takes from Payton there. So. Plenty to listen to. Like I said, we got like 50 minutes of it. So yeah, we had a great show. And then I had to leave, but Kenny and Payton did quick hits. So we got jerseys of the week. We talked a little baseball, a little college football 25, and a bunch of other stuff. A little Danny Stevens, a little update from one of our award-winning listeners. She gave it to us on Twitter. So we talked about that in quick hits as well. A little Kobe Brown talk, all sorts of stuff to get your weekend started. But most importantly, like 50 minutes of Mizzou football at SEC Media Days talk. So plenty to dive into. Won't waste any more time. The Unwritten Rule starts right now.
Marcel, where are you going with that disc? You are not putting that on again. Marcel, okay, if you press that button, you are in very, very big trouble.
Attention. Everybody stop what you're doing. It's time for The Unwritten Rule, a Mizzou sports podcast brought to you by the Believe Network. Alongside Peyton Haverman and Kenny Van Doren. Here is your host, Jack Knowlton.
Welcome back to The Unwritten Rule. Today is Friday, July 19th, and it was a Mizzou takeover at SEC Media Days this week. Also, the three of us are all back for a show. I know I've missed the last two shows. Peyton did a nice solo interview. We had Peyton and Kenny do the last show. I'm very glad we're all back. You know, in some time off, I've had some time to think. I love that we dive right into the news, but you know what? Let's exchange some pleasantries since it's our first day back. Peyton, Kenny, how have you guys been? How was your last couple of weeks? I know we're in the doldrums of summer. I know Peyton's been playing a lot of
One thing I took away from SEC Media Days was just how much easier it is for Drinkwitz when he has actual results to like back up his, Drinkwitz has a shtick. I don't think everyone is aware of that.
Knock this off. I know you've been playing a bunch of NCAA 25. Let me exchange a pleasantry before we dive into or are you just going to go mute?
What question do you have?
How was your NCAA 25?
Great.
All right, Kenny, how have you been?
Same here. Peyton and I have been playing a little bit. We haven't played each other yet. A little scared to do that.
He's
probably
scared.
want a couple more games under my belt. I've been playing the Ultimate Team. Doesn't sound like a lot of people are doing that, but it's been pretty fun. And don't play on freshman mode if you played the game before. It's just not the game. It's like there's just no one else on the field, not even a computer. But it's been a lot of fun. Jack, I hope you enjoyed your vacation in the homeland of Wisconsin.
Thank you, sir. Have you done it? I know Peyton's doing a dynasty with Nevada. Have you? It sounds like you're playing the Ultimate Team mode. I
have a dynasty with FAU. I'm only two games in.
Yeah, you are trying to recreate the career of Lane, which we'll get to. We have Lane talk as a part of SEC Media Days. But yeah, I need to get the game. I don't know. I did like a spin the wheel for what team I should do my dynasty with. I got UAB. So I think that might be taking the Blazers to the promised land. We'll be the best team in Alabama by the first season's end. That'll be
popular 14 rebuild, that's for sure.
Okay. Yeah. I guess we'll see how it goes. I still have to get the game, but it looks like it's been fun. That was a big topic of conversation too at SEC Media Days. I know Luther got asked about it because he was one of the best players, and that was a big thing. But we do have news. It's nice to have some football, and it's like an oasis in the desert of summer before the season starts. Mizzou, of course, at SEC Media Days. They were there on Tuesday. So we're going to kind of dive into what they said. Obviously, it was Drinkwitz, and then Kristian Williams, Luther Burden, and Brady Cook were all of the player representatives. Won't get into everything. Obviously, a lot of it is just coach speak stuff. I did see a funny take that like SEC Media Days now, is kind of something that was created, for when you weren't covering a team 365 days of the year, and now it's sort of become obsolete because everyone knows all the storylines heading in. But I still think it's a nice like excuse to just talk about the teams and see where things are at. There are some good updates, and I guess, let's just dive into it. So we'll start with Drink. He was at the podium, and then we'll talk about each of what the players said. So Drinkwitz, he hit on a few points. My first takeaway overall was that he mentioned a lot of players on the roster, which I kind of admired. Talked about a lot of the positional depth. There's 43 new guys. He got into what Corey Batoon's going to bring. He was asked about losing Blake Baker, Jake Olson, Kevin Peoples. He gave a bunch of praise to Caden Green. Let's start on the defensive side, you guys. What did you think of what Drink? And I know Kristian Williams had a statement of it about it with Corey Batoon coming in and with some of these defensive replacements. Drink sounds pretty optimistic that they'll be able to fill the holes there. What do you think of what he said about replacing those guys that left, particularly for LSU, and then Corey Batoon coming in?
He didn't give much away, which is just kind of the theme of kind of all he was on media days and kind of what he's just turned himself more into. If you're on the YouTube, I mean, you see there, he was on the Feinbaum show, like right after he did his presser. And Feinbaum even said, he's like, he noticed, he was like, you're not a loose cannon kind of like you were when you first came to Missouri. Cause I think we all remember it was quotes galore when Drink first got to Mizzou. Now he's trying to dial that back. So like mostly what I took away was that Batoon kind of just he's more acclimated to how Mizzou operates now. He's just kind of still figuring some things out, but overall, I mean, you're not going to get a whole ton given away, especially by Drinkwitz. But it is maybe one of the more under talked about storylines. That's going to be an area of the ball that had a whole ton of turnover. So, and it's got a new, at least somewhat, a lot of it's going to look familiar under Batoon, but there is going to be his own personal flair to that defense. So seeing how all that meshes together, it's pretty good that Mizzou has a few easier games early on in schedule, because that'll be a good way to test out just everything that goes on with this defense.
It kind of takes me back to right when Blake Baker left for LSU, and Drinkwitz's big push was like, he was my brother, I loved him, but now it's time for someone else. Like, he was quick to move on, he no lost love between him and Blake Baker, who he spent, time with at other universities as well. So I think it's good that, there's that relationship there. It's already settled in. Now it's just kind of time to just move on. The homecoming or the honeymoon time is over, and just kind of move forward with who you have. And talk about, losing other guys on the staff as well. Jake Olson, wasn't the safeties coach for the Tigers, more of a defensive analyst, but, getting Brian Early in as a defensive ends coach. And we have never talked to Brian Early. We haven't heard him speak yet. We're pretty, high praise for him, just how he kind of reacted on Twitter to, losing some guys that weren't even his players, losing Sayonara Tunkara to Cal to the transfer portal, and then just kind of putting his stats out there, saying any coach, if you need stuff on this guy, if you need stuff on Serenier, just call me. And that's just kind of the thing I kind of took away from, looking back on some of those quotes, some of the stuff we liked about the new coaches.
Yeah, I think we talk about personnel too. Like I feel like a thing we've talked about is Mizzou hasn't necessarily lost anyone hugely significant to the transfer portal. Obviously, you had a lot of losses in the secondary. But this is what Drinkwitz said. It goes along with what I said with naming players. He said, we've got some significant newcomers on the defensive side of the ball that I think will make their impact. Zion Young, Darius Smith, Eddie Kelly, Corey Flagg, Khalid Jacobs, Jeremiah Beasley, Toriano Pride, Caleb Flagg, a lot of players to name. All these guys will significantly contribute to winning, but it's all about us developing and consistently maintaining the standards that have been built over the last 4 years. And then I'll throw in something that Kristian Williams said just about Batoon. He's a situational master. That's my big takeaway from him. He's a laid-back guy, so he gets on you if he needs to. I'm just excited to see what the future may hold. Any thoughts on that? I know you guys touched on it, but that, and I think specifically Drinkwitz naming maybe some of those guys who were big name transfer ads, and then you kind of forget about them for a little bit because you don't see them on the field, until August. But I think Drink doing a good job of reminding Mizzou's got some talent that they brought in that yes, the expectations are high, but some of these guys have delivered on pretty big stages before.
I mean, it's interesting to hear the laid back part because I feel like that's the polar opposite of what Blake Baker was probably like in practice. Kenny could definitely speak more on that, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, mind you. I think it's fine to kind of bring that relaxed atmosphere in a way that can maybe rub off on your players in big situations. Um, but it's interesting. I mean, we're not really going to know more until we actually see it on the field, or maybe we get some looks at it in practice. I mean, it's still, while it's a similar scheme, new scheme, you got to see how kind of all the players gel in. They did bring in a lot of talent. I know Brady Cook actually like singled out Zion Young from Michigan State as someone that kind of was standing out. So that's obviously a good sign there. But until we see it on the field, we're not going to know for sure.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to beat the football mentality that Blake Baker brought. He wore cleats during practice. He was a pretty players coach at the same time of just being a really good defensive coordinator. And even Brian Kelly said it this weekend. It's just like he's in the scrum like with the guys, trying to get them to be able to tackle each other and turn it up when they need to turn it up. And I kind of like that from Batoon, though. It's like you want a guy that gels well with his players, kind of like how Blake Baker did. But you want someone who can chew you out at the same time. You want someone that if you're slacking off, you're not living up to what they want that week, then he's gonna let you know. He's gonna put you in the ringer. And I think that's just kind of what Drinkwitz probably wants too. He wants guys that are there for his players, but also ones that they'll keep them on a straight line.
Sure. Yeah, I think the buy-in seems to be there so far, and the veterans at least seem to like Corey Batoon, which you're always going to get that at SC Media Days, but it sounds like there is something there. At least they have an understanding of the kind of the personality type he brings, which, like you said, Kenny, when you're replacing someone like Blake Baker is big. And Payton, you make a good point too. Like I just read this list of names. I mean, Zion Young, Michigan State; Darius Smith, Georgia; Jeremiah Beasley was at Michigan. Like, they don't have like a whole ton of experience. They obviously transferred for a reason, but these are guys who are wanted by Power 5 programs and they're staying there. Khalil Jacobs played for a good South Alabama team, not Power 5, but was coached by a guy in Kane Womack who's good. Yeah, I think it's interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what the defense kind of emerges. Segueing a bit, there was a lot of Caden Green talk, and I want to touch on this. I'll read you this quote from Drinkwitz. You guys can give me your thoughts. I think I have another one that I can read too. But Drinkwitz said, "Now we have as much competitive depth as we've ever had at the offensive line position with the addition of Caden Green, Marcus Bryant, Javen Richardson, Logan Reichert, Mitch Walters. All of those guys have the ability to fill the needs that we have, but we're going to need to play well at the line of scrimmage, and we have our hands full in trying to create dominance that we want to have in order to effectively protect the football and run the ball that we need to in order to compete at a high level." I'm curious what you guys think of that. Payton is particularly Mitch Walters being thrown in there. But the offensive line in general, especially given, this is a running back room with, that loses Cody Schrader. You're going to probably have to rely on some more blocking. I think Marcus Carroll and Nate Noel have gotten a decent amount of praise. What do you guys think of what Drink said about the depth there at the O-line?
I mean, like, it is good to hear like Logan Reichert's name kind of thrown in, guys he feels like he could rely upon if needed. I don't expect him to start or anything like that, but that is a good sign. One thing I also noticed, I'm pretty sure it was Drink talking about Caden Green again. He said he'd been working with Brandon Jones to kind of figure out maybe if his best spot is at guard or at tackle, which I found interesting because I think everyone assumed he was going to step in and just slot in at left tackle. I've always been of the mindset I think he's better served at guard because it's where he played last year. I think Mizzou is fine at tackle. You bring in Marcus Bryant from SMU, who was an all AAC guy. The last guy that Mizzou did that with, Cameron Johnson, turned into a very slept-on stud for this Mizzou team last year. I think Armand Membu is fantastic at right tackle. I would not move him, but it's Brandon Jones' call ultimately, and Brandon Jones, as Drinkwitz kind of alluded to, kind of has a lot to play with here. So he'll figure out the best configuration. I think after the last year, he's earned the benefit of our doubts until proven otherwise. So I was kind of interested to hear that Drinkwitz did leave the door open for Caden Green potentially staying in at guard. That's kind of my ideal offensive line just on paper, but again, Brandon Jones will figure it out. Have full confidence in that unit.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like, it's finally like a quick turnaround, but it just feels a little bit weird to come into a season after these last couple of years and just look at the offensive line room and not be too worried, but more of like, how are we going to get all these guys playing time? You don't want Logan Reichert to eventually transfer because he's not playing. He had Oregon in his back pocket last time he made his decision when he came to Mizzou. So, you want to get him in there eventually. We've seen the Tigers, move into like a 6-man lineman sometimes in some packages. That was something they did a little bit more in 2022 with trying to get Armand Membu on the field. So maybe we see that again, but it's a good spot to be in when you have a lot of different combinations and just depth in general. I mean, it's really, offensive linemen can go down any second. We saw it a lot in 2022. Hopefully you don't see it this season, but it's good to have depth this season, especially just with a team that was, up for awards last year.
Yeah, I like that take, Kenny. I think, I don't know, and Payton, you make a good point too. Like, I think there was a lot of hype coming in with Logan Reichert, so I'd like to see, him get a shot. But if he's not getting a shot because there's simply better players in front of him, I don't think you can have any complaints there. I'll throw this in. Brady Cook added, he was asked about Marcus Bryant and Caden Green, said, it's hard to replace Javon Foster and Xavier Delgado. A lot of talent from those two, but I think we did the best we could. Caden got here in January, and it's been a perfect fit. Him and Membu have already had a close connection, good relationship, which has helped a lot. He's meshed right in. Then Marcus Bryant, he got here this summer. It's been a great fit going through OTAs, workouts, meetings. Those two are perfect fit for our culture, perfect fit for the line. I'm excited to watch them do their thing. To you guys, I ask, first of all, give your reaction to that if you want. And then what is your combined, and I feel like Payton, I ask you this every week, but frankly, it's because I'm curious. What does your combined offensive line starting unit look like right now? You guys could collab on it.
Ooh.
If it were just what I purely wanted, I would probably do Marcus Bryant at left tackle. I'd do Caden Green at left guard. Tollison. Cameron Johnson at right guard and Armand Membu at right tackle. Although I know Marcus Bryant played right tackle, if I'm not mistaken, at SMU. So maybe you want to try and flip Membu and Bryant. I wouldn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
I think Bryant is more than capable of probably swapping sides, especially with a little bit of practice. But you can do whichever. I would say that is my ideal 5. Maybe Logan Reichert slots in there as that 6th man.
Yeah, I'm in the same spot there with you. I think you get Marcus Bryant the edge to a left tackle just with the experience. And Armand Membu, last season, we even talked about, like, how is this guy going to get some snaps at left tackle when Javon Foster is there? And I mean, he did perfect at right tackle. So I was like, at this point, why move him if it's working? I'm looking at the depth chart too on our lads, and it says that Marcus Bryant is going to wear 0 this next season. If someone wants to fact check that. Yeah, that's pretty funny. But looking at the secondary guys, I liked Brandon Solis in that 2022 class, 2023 class, and I mean he's finally kind of knocking at the door there. Logan Reichert as well. Drake Heismeyer's, he's had his moments. He's just a fine depth guy. And you have Mitchell Walters as well and Tristan Wilson. So I think it's kind of a fine area right there. But I think Logan Reichert would be like your next guy up on the interior side.
At either guard spot.
Most likely, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds like a lot of depth to me. I think either line is pretty good. I think what you do with the tackles could get interesting. And I know that's been kind of a hotly contested thing with where this running back room is. And that's where I'll go next. We'll stay on the offense side of the ball a little bit. I didn't write down a whole quote from this. There's a really long quote that Drink said about it. The main takeaway I had was he talked about Cody Schrader, and it was more replacing the energy and personality that Cody Schrader had rather than his output on the field, which sounds to me like he's relatively confident. I know Luther Burden, was asked about it. The running back said, we have a couple guys from the portal who can help make that spot. We've had guys who's been there, guys that's been in the offense that can take their spot. What do you guys think of the running back situation as it stands? I think there's a lot of confidence. It seems like in Marcus Carroll, I feel like even when I heard the analysts and stuff talking about it, a lot of people seem to at least know who Marcus Carroll is and have some faith, that he can do a job. I don't think we're expecting him to be Cody Schrader, but I don't know if you guys heard anything particular to add to that they said at SC Media Days, but just thoughts on the guy running behind this seemingly deep offensive line.
Yeah, no offense to Drink, but we're more about replacing the person part is a lot of coach speak nonsense to me. They got to replace the production, obviously, of Cody Schrader. And he even mentioned like Mizzou has had 2 of the last 3 leading rushers in the SEC. He mentioned Brady and Schrader. Quite frankly, I'm not that nervous about the run game. It's always seemingly 2022 was definitely the roughest year under Drinkwitz, but every year Mizzou has had a, statistically speaking, really good rushing attack under Drink for the most part. So his scheme, I guess, is just conductive to it. I know in the past, Drinkwitz has said, like, we want to go more by, like, running back by committee approach. I know in 2022, the roughest year, they really wanted to try and keep that up with Schrader, with Pete. They tried to mix Taj Butts in. It just became the Cody Schrader show by the end because he was about the only one that was producing. I do think they have the guys to do it this year, though. I mean, Marcus Carroll was one of the leading rushers in the country last year. He was first team all Sun Belt. And obviously this is the SEC, not the SBC now, but a lot of people, like you said, Knowlton, are pretty high on him. He's built like a tank. He's built like an SEC back. I especially am confident in him in pass pro for that exact reason. He's built to stonewall a linebacker that's blitzing on Brady or something like that. And then you got Nate Knoll, who we've talked about a lot, who can just come in and totally change the pace. That is a true thunder lightning combo. Drinkwitz is familiar with him. I would 100%. I would be very surprised if they don't have another really strong rushing attack this year, unless Noel and Carroll are just not really. They don't translate to the SEC
level,
well.
yeah.
But I would be, especially with the offensive line likely being another strength of the team, I'd be really surprised if we're having running back questions late into the year.
With how much of like an enigma Cody Schrader was, and just it's not something you'll probably see again anytime soon. I think it's just fair to say that there is a lot of confidence in Curtis Looper. I don't know like how you come into the season, see after the great season Brady had in 21, and then it just doesn't work out with Nate Pete in 2022. Then you turn to a division. Did you know he played at the Division II level?
No, did he?
Right?
Truman
Yeah,
State.
Truman
Wow.
State, yeah. So I mean,
know
you just look at that, and then you have 2 running backs coming in this year. I just think you just have to have some level of high confidence in this staff, no matter who the running back comes in. No matter what the numbers say on in the box score. I think you just have to have confidence that it's just going to kind of work out. One of them, and if both of them work out in their respective roles, I mean, I'm not shocked. I just that's where you kind of go from the last couple seasons.
I 100% agree. I also like if Mizzou does like totally commit to a running back by committee approach, which I think is the plan this year.
Yeah.
It doesn't just become the Marcus Carroll or the Nate Noel show. I really do expect Kawan Lacey to get a decent amount of snaps this year because, I mean, Curtis Looper, obviously, I think he's one of the more unheralded heroes for this team. Mizzou's running backs have just been a force under him for the most part. And he was, I think everyone kind of remembers the Twitter show he was putting on during the Kawan Lacey recruitment, where it looked like Mizzou was swooping in at the 11th hour, and Curtis Looper was literally live tweeting his recruitment of Kawan Lacey in the last day. So I think it's very
Not
clear
directly,
that
though. No direct mention
no.
of Quan Lacey.
Right, of course.
Violations on the.
But it was very. I mean, it's pretty clear that the staff is super duper high on him. I believe he's probably the highest ranked recruit Mizzou has gotten at running back under. I believe he's higher than Tavoris Jones, just in terms of rating. But either way, I mean, it's clear they're very high on Kawan Lacey. I do kind of expect to see him get some snaps.
I'm glad you brought that up Payton, because I'm a Quan Lacey fan. This has been known. Drinkwitz mentioned him, I think, both on the main stage and when he was on SEC Network. Also, I think he might have got beat. I think Jamara and Morrow might be a higher commit in 2025. I think he might be ranked higher. So running back committee, Curtis Looper. I mean, you got to give him credit. But yeah, I think it's so interesting, right? And Kenny, you make like such a good point. It's felt we've had years before where we're like, it's probably gonna be running back by committee, and then a guy just takes over. But this does kind of feel like a year where it truly will be, and the talent is like evident enough. Like there isn't one guy who, like you said, you're not going to have a Cody Schrader anomaly probably because there's just no one that works like that. And there really isn't one guy where you're like, they'll probably, emerge out of nowhere. It'll probably take a combined effort, but the talent collectively is still pretty good. I think you guys make a good point on that. I do expect Lacey to be involved. I'll stay on the offense, then I have one more thing on defense, and then we could talk some fun moments before we move on. I'm glad this question was asked because there's been some discourse about a certain wide receiver at the University of Missouri. I don't remember. I think, Payton, you and I were talking about this on air. Yes, of course, I'm talking about Marquis Johnson because Brady Cook was asked about him. I'm going to read you his answer. It was just about something, if anything, like how he's going to look sophomore year, whatever. Brady Cook, Marquis is speedy. I think we all know that. He's probably the fastest guy on our team. He is talented, man. To do what he did as a freshman last year in those big moments was impressive. One thing that stuck out to me is he's gained weight. Like he's developed his body. That's something I noticed. He always comes to me and tells me, Brady, I gained weight, yada, yada, yada. I'm like, dude, let's go. We need that. I hadn't pre-read that. That's kind of funny. He's conscious. He's focused. He was talking to me 2 days ago. He's like, hey, fall camp after practice, let's rip balls, post, shoot routes. He loves all the deep stuff. He's talented. He's focused. Super impressive what he did as a freshman last year. So I'm excited to see him play. I will take some responsibility for the Marquis Johnson propaganda when it may be preemptive that he was only, catching deep routes. I think someone brought up that his average yards per catch was like 30 last year.
29.5.
There you go. But that to me sounds like a pretty good sign that a jump is going to be made where he develops some of the all-roundedness that I think, Payton, you in particular need to see if we're going to be convinced this can be our guy in the future.
I'm jumping in real quick. I have nothing to add to this. I'm going to let Payton say what he wants to say because we had a conversation about this off air, just the two of us the other day.
Okay. Yeah. Let me hear it. I want to hear this recap. Payton?
Oh, okay. I thought Kenny was
the floor is yours,
I said that was it. Yeah,
I made my case, dude.
I don't know. I'm not a
Marquis
Marquis Johnson hater. I think Marquis Johnson has probably the highest ceiling in the room besides Luther Burden. But here's the thing about it. We got Mizzou fans complaining that a true freshman receiver that caught 13 passes was not higher rated than a 76 overall in a video game. All right. Can we let's calm down a little bit, all right? Yeah. I think Marquis Johnson is an incredible tool to have in your tool bag, especially when you have a top three that is so different in skill set, like Luther Burden, Mookie Cooper, and Theo Weiss. To be able to sub in Marquis Johnson and have him just blaze past a safety downfield and have Brady Cook hit him is unbelievably value. And I think provided that Marquis Johnson develops just more like an actual receiver than just a deep threat, he'll be an NFL player. Like no doubt about it. He has the highest speed probably that we've seen at Mizzou in I don't know how long on the football team. But I don't know how seismic a jump is going to be this year. He's still wide receiver 4 or 5, depending on probably the situation where you go to Mekhi Miller in certain instances. And right now he's just a deep threat, and there's nothing wrong with being that as just a true sophomore. But I think that's a reality people kind of need to face right now. I don't know how seismic a jump he's going to take while Luther Burden, Mookie Cooper, and Theo Weiss are standing in front of him, because I just don't think the production's going to be there. He'll still catch a ton of deep balls. He'll still make game-changing plays. I mean, you think about it, the reason the Cotton Bowl flipped last year was because of a Marquis Johnson 50-yard catch. He's that type of player, and I think that's totally fine for him as a true sophomore. It's going to be when he's a junior and Luther Burden, Mookie Cooper, and Theo Weiss are all gone. That's when he's going to, I think, take a huge jump and get on NFL scouts' radar.
See, I think I needed that. I need to eat my humble pie when it comes to Marquis Johnson. Some others probably do too, because I think there is probably a collective of fan base who like forgets about Mekhi Miller and forgets about some of these other guys, and probably would, if you ask them, would say like he's clearly the wide receiver 3. And I think Payton, you're saying it's probably a little bit lower given his other skills just need to be developed, but he's one that he's incredibly elite at right now.
Ordinarily, I'll say he's probably like in front of Mekhi Miller on the depth chart. But I mean, like, think about like when it's 3rd and 3, Mizzou needs to get 3 yards, and they want to go a 4 wide receiver look.
40-yard bomb.
Marquis Johnson is not going to be on the field there.
Yeah,
that is going to be a Mekhi Miller down. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's not what Marquis Johnson's game is right now. That's probably the area he needs to refine the most. He's not like a true receiver right now. He's not out there running flag routes and post routes and just all of that. He's a deep ball guy, and that is totally fine because they don't need him to be a truly refined receiver right now.
Yeah, I think my last takeaway just with that is like I like though that Brady Cook is saying he wants to refine those skills. Like it's not
I believe that 100%.
It's not just go ahead. Do you have another?
And junior year, I think they're going to need him to be that. That'll be Mekhi Miller's last year of eligibility, I believe. Marquis Johnson will be a junior. You'll have to see who out of like Daniel Blood, Courtney Crutchfield, all those guys, James Madison, who's going to step up beside those two, because I think it's pretty obvious those two will be 1 and 2 on the depth chart, assuming no transfers. But I don't think it's a bad thing that Marquis Johnson, I don't think, is going to take a huge uptick in production. He'll have better stats last year. I think he'll have way more than 13 catches because I think they're going to try and get creative, just give him the ball on a screen, maybe a slant route every year.
Let Luther throw it
in there. But he's not going to be like, he's not going to step in and have like 30 catches for like 600 yards and 7 touchdowns this year. I don't think that is the production I would go into the year expecting out of Marquis Johnson.
I had one thing to add.
Nope, I know that Marquis. Sorry, we're moving on.
Marquis Johnson had a younger brother. I know that I don't think this is his younger brother, but there was I think it might be someone, maybe a cousin or someone in his family. But there's another speedy wide receiver that committed to Texas A&M. His name is Kelshawn Johnson. So maybe keep an eye on him as a possible, speedy guy in College Station this year. Or I guess next year, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. I think you make a very fair argument, Payton. I think that's probably the expectation that everyone should have. That being said, I will be rooting for what you said won't happen, which is that he does have 13 catches for like 600 yards and then turns into Luther Burden in 1 year or next year instead of as a junior. But anyway, speaking of Luther Burden, I just want to touch on this because he was there too, and I don't think he had too many notable quotes when he was, being talked to and stuff like that. And, obviously people were asking him about his expectations. Of course, he said, I want to be the best player I can be, all this stuff. The one thing that I thought was interesting, he did get asked about returning kicks and punts still. And he was very clear that he still wants that to be a part of his game. I know that's been debated a little bit as the season goes on. He's a player that plays very physically, but he's not, the biggest guy in the world. There's obviously injury risks sometimes when you return kicks and punts. He does obviously have the home run play in him. What do you guys think of that? I haven't looked at, other names that could serve as the return man, but what do you think of Luther being in that role still next year, given how much they're going to need him?
Luther, look, man, when it was your freshman season and you weren't like a truly like bona fide, like just elite receiver yet, I just wanted the ball in your hands as much as possible. Yes, I was pro get Luther the ball on
Every
punt
time.
returns. Now I do not want him anywhere near the punt return team. He takes way too many big hits. And quite frankly, Luther's kind of like, he has moments where he looks pretty lost on punt return. Like he lets a ball go over his head that he probably shouldn't have. He fair catches one he probably shouldn't have. it's magic when Luther Burden gets the ball in his hands in space. But really, more than anything else, I don't want to see him get hurt on punt returns. That would make me unbelievably upset. And I think it would probably make Eli Drinkwitz upset too, because I quite frankly don't trust the special teams unit to keep him healthy, because they're the worst coached unit on the team. And I would rather just have Luther Burden be a guy that gets a million catches on offense and has his production that way. I would like to see more Luther Burden in the backfield looks this year, not even just handing the ball off to him, but more than just pitching, like doing the fake pitch play. Like they had one play against South Carolina that last year where it was almost like it was a jet sweep motion. It was like a crank handoff from Brady Cook. They had the whole line pull off the line, and like I want to see more of that with Luther Burden. I don't want to see more punt returns. I want to see more just wrinkles out of the backfield with him.
Jack, when you were listening to like expectations that he wanted or that he had, did he mention the Heisman?
He did not explicitly,
Okay.
but I
But
He said Bolitnikov.
yeah, I think he wants that.
Okay, that's interesting because I remember his freshman year he mentioned the Heisman. Like that was a big thing. Like that was just on his mind. And I was wondering if, like, it's just, ideals changed. He's probably a little bit more media trained now, just kind of saying, just more team oriented, be the best player you can be. But
Nah,
I
I
mean,
think
going for the Blitnikoff too is a pretty big deal for a wide receiver.
It's just that he's matured and he's realized that it's a quarterback
Yeah.
award. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Like
He got to college with stars in his eyes, and he got a little more beaten down and saw the award for what it truly was, and he set his sights to the Bolitnikov,
He'll let
which
Brady
he probably should be the favorite for.
Yeah, him or like Stewart or the guy from Arizona, McMillan.
Yeah, Tetori.
Yeah,
I don't know how to say it, but I know who you're talking about. He's a freak too. 6'5".
Yeah,
crazy good athleticism.
Peyton, I'm glad you said that because I think I agree on the whole of with Luther Burden. I would probably like him away from the punt team just because it's such a risk, like you said. And yeah, we'll I guess see. Any final serious things before I touch on this Drinkwitz thing quick? We've 35 minutes of Mizzou SEC Media Days. I love it. We're just like, it makes me excited for the fall. We can keep speculating about what this roster is going to look like. It's going to be fun.
I think it kind of goes to show how much winning does for a program, because I mean, last year there was absolutely no chance we were going to see Brady Cook or Luther Burden at this event. And not only did we get them this year, I mean, they were both like, you could tell, like, so Brady Cook was just grinning ear to ear like most of the time he was there. He had the cowboy hat on. He was goofing around. Luther Burden looked like he was kind of enjoying his time. Luther Burden, I think, is more like kind of reserved than people realize. Like he just kind of lets his game do the talking. He's not a big quote guy, like, at all. Like he did not say anything that was going to be controversial or anything like that, which is a good thing. I think that's a very good thing for him and Mizzou.
The man lets the play do the talking.
I will also add one more thing, because I'm pretty sure this is not the fun thing you're going to talk about. Drinkwitz, when he went on Feinbaum right after, Feinbaum was doing his Feinbaum thing. He was trying to goad Drinkwitz into getting a little quote there. I mean, they were talking about Mizzou's schedule, and Feinbaum was kind of poking fun. He's like, wow, I've never seen a top four as tough as Murray State, Buffalo, Boston College, Vanderbilt. And maybe Drinkwitz a few years ago would have given him a good one, but this time he was not taking the bait. He was not taking. They talked about rat poison a lot on the Feinbaum show, because that's where it comes from. And Drinkwitz was like, yeah, I mean, those are all good opponents. We got to be ready to play each one of them. Drinkwitz did give a couple funny ones. We're going to talk about this later. The two drunk Michigan fans. Drinkwitz had a good quote on that one. He mentioned when Drinkwitz was talking about tough games, he made a point to say we have to go up to Amherst to play UMass. And Paul Feinbaum, to his credit, he did what a good journalist should do. He called him out on that. And Drinkwitz was like, we can go up to the Northeast and get our butt whipped. I learned that the hard way. Like, I got to be careful about what I say about the Northeast. So
I can't believe that game is happening.
Yeah, it's embarrassing. But overall, Drinkwitz didn't have a foot in the mouth moment like he kind of did last season, even though it wasn't really his fault. He had one little funny quote, and I think I know what you're going to mention.
Yeah, he needs to work. Sorry, Kenny, you have a thing before?
I have like one last serious thing. Yeah, with if you don't have Luther on punt returns, and I think Marquis Johnson would already be on some of the kick returns, but maybe he gets a look at punt return as well. It's never been like a position the last couple of years that only one guy is taking every single punt return through the season, so maybe he does get a look with the speed.
Oh, before I do want to, I thought like maybe Mookie Cooper is a guy you
that could be
look
fun.
at on punt returns. I only say that because it just seems like he always is able to make the first guy that tries to tackle him miss. He's very shifty, and I think Mookie Cooper could be decent at that role.
He's a part of the return group that's on the field early too, before games.
Yeah, so maybe he's one they look at. Just
yeah.
stop with Luther Burden at it. I really don't like it anymore.
I agree. So there you go. There's some options. Yeah, Payton. Drinkwitz needs to work on his acronyming a little bit. I don't remember who he said this about, but apparently
Caden Green.
Was it Caden Green?
Yep.
Some more Caden Green talk, which I guess it's good that Caden Green has all of these traits, or maybe not, because Drinkwitz talking about Caden Green, shout out Matt Stahl, friend of the show, said, or Drinkwitz said at the podium, quote, Caden Green, he's got the STI, size, toughness, and instincts. This is nice. Mizzou out of context, or Drinkwitz out of context is what
I wonder who came up with this acronym. Do you think it's a Drinkwitz acronym or a Brandon Jones acronym? Acronym. I can't talk. Acronym.
Hopefully, I don't know. Maybe an intern just trying to see if he could sneak it in.
Right.
Keep him away from cranberry juice. I think that'll be his kryptonite.
Our good old Parker Thune quote tweeted the Drinkwitz STI quote with I don't even know what to say about this. I think in his heart of hearts he knew. Maybe his thoughts were just dead in the water. His mom probably was steering him in one. Parker Thune shouldn't be commenting on this. That's all I'm trying to say here.
I was doing some work today and I discovered an incorrect Parker Thune commitment prediction, if that makes you guys feel good.
Yeah, you can probably find a couple of them.
Yeah, this is we got to rethink that one, Drink. Let's rethink that one. Let's stick with maybe go to Dennis for a little flat duet. Something a little bit.
If you need a core value.
Yeah, if you need to add a core value. The other thing, yeah, you mentioned the two drunk Michigan fans on Feinbaum. That this is where I feel like this was the most Drinkwitzy quote that he you can see he's got the little grin, like you can tell he was ready for this one. Paul Feinbaum said he was watching the Cotton Bowl with two drunk Michigan fans on a plane, and Drinkwitz said, "You decide to get drunk. Are you having a Mike Gundy moment?" For those who don't know, Mike Gundy was talking about Ollie Gordon's DUI and said, "I do that all the time." So.
Right. Yeah, no, this was a good one.
Don't drink and drive. I feel I must say that after I.
This is a good zinger, but do you think it'll get brought up when Mizzou goes 7-5 and has to play Oklahoma State in the Texas Bowl?
We'll be there. There.
I would be there because it's close by. But no, I mean this one, if this is as spicy as it gets for Drink, I mean, I think that really does show he's turned over a new leaf. He's not firing off quote after quote anymore, but that is a good one. I will also say, like, Feinbaum, and it kind of seems like a lot of people that ask questions, like that Ohio State win really was like a big, even without McCord or and Devin Brown getting hurt. People give Mizzou a lot of credit for that win. So
Ohio State
pretty good one. Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty cool thing to see. That Twitter fans don't think like actual people that know what they're talking about when it comes to that win.
I will say, shout out the two Ohio State fans sitting behind me and Payton. They were actually pretty nice. They did leave in the third quarter, but
I was there too.
You were there.
Yeah,
too. Sorry.
You weren't even sitting next to Payton.
Was that by you?
I was in the middle. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. Sorry. It's a long time ago. I was pulling a Feinbaum, if you get my drift. That's a little bit cloudy. Anyway, all right, we'll segue. There you go. Ton of Mizzou football talk. SC Media Days was fun. Oh, I guess we should shout out the bowl too. They had a bowl that I know Steve Sarkisian sat on it. I don't know if Drinkwitz did. But
They had a what?
They had like a bowl, like a mechanical bowl.
I thought it was alive.
Yeah, I thought it was real.
Cooler.
Yeah, I thought it was just standing there. A couple other quick things before we go over to quick hits. We have more awards. This one's actually like more fun than just Luther Burden is really good at football. Kristian Williams, who was of course at SC Media Days, got nominated for the Warfel Trophy. Did I pronounce that right? That's how you say it, right?
Yep.
Warfel Trophy honors college football's most impactful leaders in community service. The All-State Warfel Trophy is presented to the FBS player who best combines exemplary community service with leadership achievement on and off the field. So, shout out Kristian Williams. He seems like a very, I heard him at SC Media Days. He had some great answers. Seems like a great leader for this team. So it looks good that he's doing it off the field too. Take those leadership qualities.
Yeah, one of the more kind of undersung heroes for this Mizzou team. He's been really good at that D tackle spot the last 2 years. I fully expect him to be great there again, even without kind of his partners in crime the last few years. Josh Landry's gone. Jaden Jernigan's gone. Those were very productive players for Mizzou as well. But man, that D-line Mizzou had last year might have been one of the biggest collection of good guys that we've ever had. I mean,
ironically,
D-Rob obviously was super. I mean, it was Mizzou did a great job of showing everyone how much work he did for the community. And Kristian Williams now kind of following in the footsteps.
He's a hilarious dude. If you guys ever get the opportunity to just hear him talk, and he just kind of rambles on sometimes about just funny stuff. One time, like on a Thursday before, maybe Wednesday or Thursday before a game, like an SEC game, he was in the press conference. It was a press conference in 2022, and he started talking about how he doesn't like his teammates that leave trash around. He was like, if I can't hold you accountable to throw away your trash and recycle, how can I trust you on the field? It was just one of the most, like, we wrote about it because it was just one of those most bizarre things you've heard, like, someone just bring up. But he's just so real like that. He would wear like these funny outfits too sometimes, and like a hat flipped up sideways and sunglasses and
that's a
fur jackets. Like, he was just funny about it all.
That's a Nick Saban thing. If I can't have you guys throw your trash away, I can't. How am I supposed to trust you on a 3rd and 4?
Exactly. So I mean, it's just like he's just a fun guy, and I think that's just something that really stood out to me. It's like 2 years later, I'm not surprised he's a nominee for this award.
Who do you think was leaving their trash out? I'm gonna say Trajan Jeffcoat.
I think it would. Yeah, that's a good one. I'm thinking it's got to be someone on that defensive line. I think Jay Jernigan was also in that press conference. So I'm going to say it was him because I think he was the one that kind of hinted at it before. He was like, yeah, Kristian gets on us about these kind of things. And I think I saw like a video too of like, I don't know if this is right, but I thought he was like spraying like a sanitizer thing at someone just because like it was just like a video of him trying to be funny just because he's kind of like more of a clean guy.
Mm-hmm.
Germaphobe. There you go.
Yeah, here, I'm going to send this to myself real quick and then open it. I'm going to show you this photo of him from 2022.
Is this a fit check?
It is a fit check.
We haven't said it in a while, but in case you guys didn't know, Kenny covered the team for the Missourian in 2022. That's how he knows so much.
Oh, wow. That is a fit.
Woo! Highlighter.
So happy when he walked up. And
that's a Nike FC. That's a Nike FC hoodie. I love that.
Yeah.
He looks like he knows what he knew what he was doing.
Yeah. He's hyped. He's pumped. Hey, there's Matt Stahl who had the tweet. Shout out.
That looks like me from behind.
I think that's Matt Stahl.
Didn't you take the photo?
I did take the photo. This is my computer.
Took it of himself.
So that's not you.
Shout
Was he watching Judges at bat? Wow, that's how long ago this was.
Can you tell what? Oh my God!
There's like no one at this press
the
conference.
reply.
2022 Mizzou was not exactly a hotbed of coverage.
Thrilling time. Made Kenny hate football. Just kidding. All right. Before we go to quick hits, I'm gonna just kick it to Payton and Kenny because they're gonna talk MLB draft with Mizzou guys, and I was trying to keep up, didn't keep up very well. Kenny, Payton, what's the scoop? What's the latest?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of extended like the crazy, like Mizzou has some like long stretch of players getting drafted, which is good. They probably should be as an SEC team, but three pitchers actually were drafted in day 3 of the MLB draft. Ryan Magdic, who was kind of a hero for Mizzou at times last year. I remember a Georgia game in particular. He had to pitch like the last 3 or 4 innings and close the game out. Carter Rustad, who was really, really productive for Mizzou when healthy, and Bryce Mayer, who had good stuff. I think he kind of got like, it was just kind of tough in the SEC. He kind of struggled with command a bit at times, but he was drafted by Kenny's Houston Astros. Rustad was drafted by the Orioles, which does not surprise me because I feel I'm going to look this up, but I'll look this up when I send it over to Kenny. But Mizzou's pitching coach a couple of years ago was hired away by the Baltimore Orioles as a pitching dev coach, and he was obviously Rustad's pitching coach. And Magdic was drafted by the A's.
Yeah, I'll probably get you guys a little bit more, probably make it a quick hit about Bryce Mayer later. I'm kind of familiar with his area in the scouting area for the Astros, so I'll probably get some words on what they liked about him, and I'll share it with you guys then. But on the high school front, there were 2 Mizzou commits that were also drafted, and it's not probably the best thing that you want to hear for Mizzou fans, because one of them was Francis Howell, 4-year standout Tytus Cissell, and according to the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, he will be signing with the Arizona Diamondbacks. He was taken on day 3 in the 4th round. And then I also have another one, Ethan Bagwell, who is from Illinois. He will be signing with the Braves, and he was a 6th round selection. So the Tigers lose 3 guys from their current roster to the draft, and then 2 commits that were part of that next wave under Carrick Jackson.
There you go.
It's just kind of the risk you run. I mean, and apparently, if you scroll back up there, Kenny, I would. Cissell. He is probably signing like way over slot. And that's kind of what you see with high school guys drafted in day 2. Also, the pitching coach in 2022 that is now in the Orioles player dev was Mitchell Plasmeyer. So he was Rustad's pitching coach back in 2022. Now he'll be able to develop him.
Nice, good job, good roundup. That was needed. I like that the streak of Tigers drafted 2 into the, I guess 3 major sports, because Mizzou doesn't have like NCAA hockey, but yeah, good update. There you go. Long Mizzou segment for you guys to start the show. I'm just excited. The talking season with SC Media Days just get me hyped to do all these, more speculating when fall camp comes around and see what comes out of that and all that fun stuff. So we're getting closer. Season's right around the corner. But for now, we'll finish the rest of the show with quick hits.
All right, quick hits time. It's just Payton and I for this. Jack had to step away.
We have decided to let Jack Knowlton go. Yes, the rumors are true. We just felt like the 2-man dynamic was a better option. Jack Knowlton has been let go forever.
And I was trying to let it go easy, just kind of let him disappear. But yes, Jack is no longer part of the show. We're still not paying him to edit the show, so he'll still be around in that capacity. But we'll get into our jerseys
he'll be
of the week.
Someday, everyone, don't worry.
We're into our jerseys of the week. I thought it was a good one just to go here. If you didn't watch the Home Run Derby, I think you kind of missed out. It wasn't the best to start off. I'll say that. Not much competition with the changed format, I felt like, but kind of really got into it when Alec Boehm and Teoscar Hernandez and Bobby Witt Jr. were all kind of battling it out for the final round. And Bobby Witt Jr. was literally inches away from tying Teoscar Hernandez and getting into a swing off. It was just a pretty fun one. And Bobby Witt Jr., like to talk about guys that don't have many quotes with Luther Burden earlier. Bobby Witt Jr. is kind of like the same way, but he just tweeted that was fun after, and everyone kind of agreed with him. I also want to, bring this up because I've seen a lot of videos about it. Did you think his pitcher was throwing like terrible BP to him, Peyton? Because I saw a lot of videos saying that his arm thought he was trying to win the Cy Young.
Yeah, James Russell. I mean, he was actually a former major league reliever for the Cubs, even for a little bit. He was Bobby Witt's pitcher because he was married to Bobby Witt's sister, I believe, is what the connection was. He had moments where they were really bad, and other moments where you couldn't have laid it in any more perfect for Bobby Witt. But yeah, I mean, but the bonus round thing is not on James Russell. Bobby Witt can pick which pitches to swing at. I cannot believe that last one didn't get out. I was stunned. It looked like he crushed it. But like you said, I mean, it was kind of a like I didn't like the opening round was bad. Like Gunnar Henderson had a Scooby-Doo bat and hit 11. Pete Alonso hit 12. It was so bad. But it got the final was really good between Teoscar and Bobby Witt. And I wanted Bobby Witt to win. I think a lot of people wanted Bobby Witt to win there. But Teoscar was he'll be one of my quick hits as well. He looked so excited to actually have won that I was happy for Teoscar. He was very clearly excited that he won that.
Yeah, agreed. And former Astro, so I do like him in that respect.
What was he traded for?
Francisco Liriano.
Right. At least you won the World Series because of that trade. Moving on. My jersey of the week is going to be Cody Schrader. Cody Schrader, yes, we will never be able to escape him, probably ever again. The St. Louis Battlehawks, with their second selection in the 2024 UFL College Draft, they selected Cody Schrader. Mizzou to the loo, they said. And just a full disclosure, because there was a lot of confusion with it, Cody Schrader has not been cut by the 49ers. He still is in the NFL. This is just in case he decides to come to the UFL. The St. Louis Battlehawks have his rights now. So Cody Schrader will be playing professional football in some capacity. I truly do think he has a good chance of sticking with the 49ers just because he's been able to work his way into every opportunity the rest of his life. I don't see why that would change now. So good for Cody Schrader, though. Either way, he's going to continue playing football. If he plays for the Battlehawks, I mean, that'd be cool. He gets to stay right next to home. He'll probably be able to bang the drum for a Mizzou game if he gets cut by the 49ers. Wink, wink. But let's hope Cody Schrader never has to don a Battlehawks uniform.
Beat me to that. I was going to say, let's hope that just never happens.
Mm-hmm.
Let's hope he has a pretty long NFL career and doesn't really have to worry about money and playing in the UFL one day. Jack's jersey of the week. Peyton, you want to take this one because you know a little bit more about it?
Yes, Darrington Evans, who has been kind of all over the NFL. He was a third-round pick out of App State in 2019 or something like that. He is a running back now for the Bills. He's played for, I believe, the Dolphins. The Bears was one team he played for. He played for the Titans as well, I believe. He's a former Drink guy. I mean, he was Drink was his coach while he was at App State, and he was just on stream playing as the Missouri Tigers, beating down Colorado. It's kind of funny, Kenny. I don't know if you've noticed, so many Mizzou players, I think because Travis Hunter is ranked higher than Luther Burden, they have been totally beating down on Colorado as Mizzou. Luther Burden, I know, posted on his story, and he was he had some funny caption with it, and Mizzou was playing Colorado. So, but yeah, Darrington Evans, he was just shouting out Drinkwitz a lot on this live stream. He beat down Colorado. I believe this was an online game. So
I love when NFL players or just any pro athletes play these games, and you can kind of just see their setups. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can see all the jerseys that he's collected too, along with the teams. I was interested, Peyton, when you were talking about the teams he played for. He's only 26 like that kind of a little bit surprised me because I kind of remember him a little bit from the like pretty good App State years. But he went from the Titans to the Bears to the Colts to the Bills to the Dolphins, and then he started hitting some repeats with going back to the Bears, back to the Dolphins, and now he's with the Bills again
Right.
on the active roster.
Yeah, but I mean, he's a very good, just I think, kind of just like in a pinch back if you need him. He had a few fun moments for the Bears, so. But yeah, Darrington Evans showing love to his former coach, showing love to Mizzou. Everyone seems to love playing as Mizzou in CFB 25. By the way, I think Luther Burden is kind of fun to play as. But
Yeah.
Moving on. Hey, Sean East, what's the next segment?
I like no cap, and he's the main bird.
Sean East, main bird of the week, and Kenny is not off with a very good one.
It's a good one. I think it's good to lean into the Missouri side when I can't find anything Mizzou related. The Cardinals, for the Cardinals fans that might be listening, maybe there's some overlap there. JJ Weatherholt went 7th overall in the 2024 MLB Draft. There was some buzz that he might go 1 with Guardians possibly saving some money with a little bit of a smaller pool there after winning the lottery. But I mean, really good pick for the Cardinals. He does have some like leg problems, missed part of the season, but he was ranked number 1 coming into the college season by some outlets. So for him falling to 7 is a good spot for the Cardinals to take him. You're probably thinking, oh, the Cardinals have Mason Wynn. You take the best available player, and when you can take a shortstop, he can move positions. It happens all the time. Alex Bregman moved to third base. These are just going to be examples I know. Miles Straw, maybe you don't really want to compare JJ Weatherholt to Miles Straw, but he moved to the outfield. Another guy this year, Jackson Merrill, who was an all-star for the Padres and a rookie, he moved to the outfield and he was a shortstop. So maybe JJ Weatherholt doesn't stick at short. Maybe he moves to third, second, even the outfield. But overall, pretty good pick for the Cardinals at number 7.
I mean, it's expected he's going to slide into second or a corner, right? I mean,
yeah, I think that, but I mean, it also kind of opens up. It's maybe like a Tommy Edman case. If there's an opportunity in center field and he has the arm, the athleticism, and they have second base and third base covered, maybe that's what he takes. But Nolan Arenado is getting a little bit older. Maybe he's on his way out, and maybe JJ Weatherholt slots in there because you want the hot corner covered. You have Mason Wynn at short. That's a pretty good left side of the defense.
Yeah, I mean, if he's a great athlete, you obviously want to try him somewhere like short or third, all that. But he probably, I mean, either way, what you're getting here, and I hated this pick because I think JJ Weatherholt's really good. The dude can hit. Like, I think he on Pipeline has a 65 great hit tool or something like that. Something really good. So yeah, 65.
This entire
wow,
report.
this guy copy pasted. That's convenient. Power 50, run 60. Yeah, I mean, you're getting a great athlete. The arm is probably good enough that he could be a good third baseman, right? I mean,
yeah,
that would be really valuable for the Cardinals. That's a steal at 7.
For those who don't know, it's on an 80 grade scale, so 40 is or 50 is the average. Yeah, 50 is the average. So he has a 60 run, 50 arm, 50 field. So a little bit average right there, but maybe those things will boost once he gets pro side.
Yeah, that's the MLB draft is honest to God, like just in terms of functioning as a draft, my favorite. I think there's so much more strategy involved with it. And baseball prospects are so fun to just kind of follow that I enjoy the draft a lot. But good for the Cardinals, bad for me. JJ Weatherholt was a good pick at 7. Moving on, my main bird, and for the reason obviously we mentioned earlier, because he's a former Blue Jay before the Blue Jays just decided not worth his salary, which wound up being a big mistake. Teoscar Hernandez, the first could you believe this? The first ever Dodger to win a home run derby. That blew my mind.
Franchise.
Yeah, with a franchise as historic as that one, very surprised by that fact. But I mean, Teoscar was so happy. You can't help but feel pretty good for him. He was super excited. Again, I thought the final round of the Derby was actually really good after kind of a blah first couple rounds. But yeah, and Vlad, his friend from the Blue Jays, was there to really pump him up. Good for Teoscar. He deserved it, quite frankly. I mean, he hit the most home runs. There you go.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool that Vlad was there in the Blue Jays jersey. and Vlad won it last year, so he probably got a lot of help with that and knowing how to approach this. But just hearing Teoscar talk, I didn't, when I was following the Astros in 2017, didn't really hear Teoscar, at the podium anywhere. Because he was eventually traded, but he was also a rookie. But he's just, very well-spoken, nice guy, just always happy. And I think that's pretty cool. You want guys like him to be kind of like the face of baseball and winning these competitions.
Right. No, I 100% agree. If it looks like a guy is having fun, that energy is kind of infectious. So good for Teoscar.
It means more when it means more to the player.
Yep.
And if it means more in the SEC, and that's where we're going to go with Jack's main bird of the week. This comes from Olin Buchanan on X. SEC head of officials John McDade on if horns down is a penalty. Take the act out of a football stadium, put it in a shopping mall. Is it something that would offend the senses of a majority of reasonable people in the area? Giving this signal to me isn't offensive. I thought that was probably good. I think it's just better not to make it a bigger deal. From Texas fans, I know probably maybe a little bit on the older side, they might care a little bit more, but they just don't care. And it's just one of those things that if you make it a bigger deal, it just makes Texas look even worse in the eyes of people that didn't go there, people who don't root for the school. Before you throw anything in there, Payton, Jack wanted me to add that Gabe, good friend from Power Mizzou, said, I'm going to start walking around the mall or anywhere else and just start flashing horns down at everyone I see. May also try out some other hand gestures. We'll keep you posted.
That's a very Gabe DeArmond tweet. If you kind of follow him, but no, I'm not. I was surprised by this because I thought it previously had been reported that it was going to be a penalty, but I'm glad to see it's not. Welcome to the SEC, Texas. You don't run things around here. So yeah, good. I'm glad that's not going to be a penalty. I think it's totally tame to do that gesture. I don't understand how that could possibly be super duper offensive to anybody.
I think the most iconic one in the last decade probably would have to be Will Greer in West Virginia when they played at DK in Austin. I think that was probably the one where they went up to the student section, were throwing them down after a touchdown. Do you remember that, Payton, or no?
Not really. I mean, I've seen a bunch over the years until it finally got like Texas just strong-armed the Big 12 into making it a penalty, and then they left.
That was the reason they left. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, no, good. When Mizzou beats them in like 3 years or whenever they finally play, there you go.
We'll throw them down. Best thing you learned this week, Payton?
Best thing I learned this week, and I actually learned it like 3 weeks ago at this point, but Mizzou Hoops, they've been doing those preseason, like just kind of get to know you videos. They asked all the players, what teammate would you want with you on a deserted island? Pretty funny video. You can go find it. It was tweeted on 7/5. So you'd have to scroll back a little bit, but not too far. Pretty much so many people on the team, like almost everybody, was saying Danny Stevens because Danny Stevens is a great outdoorsman. Did not know that. Now I know that. It's the best thing I learned this week.
I'm seeing a lot of Caleb Grill early on in these photos.
Caleb Grill was also a popular one. There's Horse Josh Gray getting the love there.
We had someone ask on the YouTube, do these guys get along? That was one of the questions. And I didn't know if it was a joke at first. But okay, here's the Danny Stevens ones trickling in. But I mean, just watching a lot of these videos, it seems like there is a lot of camaraderie with these guys. So I think that's a very good thing to see. And we'll talk about that more with Drew King when the season gets a little bit closer. We'll have a more formal preview of how the season will shake out.
Right. 100%. Here's Dennis Gates giving his answer. If you're watching on the YouTube, there you go. Danny Stevens.
That's a fun video. Best thing I learned this week, and this is a really cool one. We hadn't heard from our good friend Mari on X in a while, and she let us know. She is now the women's head coach at Harper College. This is really cool to see. Of course, she was at, this is one that always kind of trips me up. Prairie State College is where she was at last year. But this is our new favorite school. If you guys want to jump on the bandwagon now, I think there's a lot of national championships in the future on the horizon for the Hawks. We're probably going to have a main bird of the week from the Hawks coming into next winter. But this is really cool to see from Mari. Congrats to her. We'll give her an MIZ, and she said, maybe we'll run into her at a game this season. Maybe we'll see her at homecoming.
Right, of course. But no, good for Mari. She's been a active listener. And now she's going to lead the Hawks, like you said, to victory. Staying in the Chicago area, by the way. It's in Palatine, Illinois, which I believe is where my dad went to high school, actually. So that's kind of a fun coincidence. But yeah, go Hawks. Might have to get some merch. Harper College. Look out.
Yeah, Mari needs some winning in her life because I believe she is a White Sox fan. And we know she likes the Bears.
Bummer.
I think she's on the South side for baseball. So Mari will bring the wins to herself this time. She doesn't have to worry about her baseball team losing. Sorry for the jab there. Best thing Jack learned this week. You want to take this one, Payton?
Yeah, Kobe Brown back in the summer league. Not overly surprising for a still developing late first rounder. But man, he's been really good in the summer league. Against the Bucks in particular, he had 18 points, 9 boards, 6 assists, 2 blocks, went 7 of 17, only 2 for 7 from 3-point land. We want to see that go up a little, Kobe. Did all that in 28 minutes, so been a rather productive summer league for him. Hopefully he can kind of keep developing, maybe become just a solid contributor for the Clippers this year.
It was against the Bucks, against Jack's team. So shout out Jack. Your team is very good, and Kobe Brown just made them look bad because he just took down a
I miss Kobe
contender.
Brown.
Yeah, we don't have to talk about maybe the players he was playing against. I mean, at this point, the uniforms don't really matter. It's just guys that just want to make it out of the G League and onto these NBA rosters. But congrats to Kobe. That's very good to see. Anything else, Payton, from this week? Pretty good show.
Kenny. I mean, you got to remember. It's everybody's favorite segment. This one comes from our favorite TV series, The Today Show. Kenny, this is an easy one. Come on now. What do you get when you cross a Smurf and a cow? Easy. Come on.
Bluebell?
Oh, you got one word right. That is a
blue.
It's actually a bet. I honestly like that punchline more. But the answer is blue cheese.
That's good. I like that one. That's really good. Thank you guys for joining us on the Unwritten Rule this week.
Don't ever remove me again.
It's good to have us all back here. Maybe not the full time
for
Jack
half the show.
For half the show, Jack dipping out. But thank you guys for joining us this week. Hope it wasn't too long for a summer one. We get into a little bit longer ones during the football season when we do our recaps. But thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you on Monday. Have a good weekend.